Oh my God. We
Heck,
finally did it, guys. This is months in the making. I don't know how we made this happen.
I am, especially with my technological skills. But it's true,
So,
right? It's like you said. It's like she was saying, right? If you know your North Star, if you know where you're going, it takes that fear away a little bit. If you're scared to close, like you said, if you're like, oh my God, is this the right deal? Does this make sense? Well, where are you trying to go? What are you trying to achieve? What does your life look like in 10 years or whatever, 20 years, 30 years? Does this deal make sense to that, right? Because I hear, for example, taking it back to real estate, that just really made me think. I hear of all these people buying a $40,000 home in Memphis that cash flow that rents for 800, right? And that's fine. But are you buying that for now? Because that cash flow, okay, cash flow is $400, say now, and you're like, oh, cash flow's $400, and that's okay. $400 is $400, and it's great. But does that fit in with your vision? Do you see yourself in 10 years' time when you're retired, owning a home in Memphis? Are you going to fly to Memphis? Where do you live? Do you live in California and you've got to go to Memphis to check on it once, twice a year? Is it somewhere you want to go? Is that $400 going to make a difference? Is that 40,000 that you bought, that maybe you bought it cash? Is that what best served putting it there? Or is it something else that fits in with your vision and where you see your life being in 10 years? Time,
doesn't that go what me and you prescribe to? Lifestyle investing, right? I had a guy call me and he said, "Listen, I have two options. I can either go down the REO route that I'm comfortable in, or I can get into multifamily because that's what everybody says I should do." And I said, "Hey, hold on." I said, "Where do you think the market is going? What makes sense for you?
Mm-hmm.
And does it make sense for you to take 2 years out of your life to learn multifamily and not know what you're doing?" I said, what makes sense to me is sticking in the avenue that you know, double down on it, making cash from that, then taking that 50,000 and investing in it in a multifamily deal with a great operator so they can teach you it from the inside out instead of you trying to be a syndicator and not knowing what you're doing. So you've actually doubled down on what you already know. And that's what people don't understand is that they're so quick to move off of where they've already made their money when you haven't maximized out your deal. But more importantly, when I invest in something, everything, what is it going to do to my lifestyle? What is it going to do to my time that it's taking up? Because you're giving away two things at all times, money and time. And whatever's important to you is going to matter. I know that's how me and you think. We want to be able to work from an island. We want to be able to work from a hotel somewhere. That's the way we prescribe. So we might not take on a ton of flips because that doesn't work for our mental state, correct?
So do you know that I saw it on Facebook, but it was the story about a professor who had this big fishbowl that he put on the desk in front of a class, and he first put these big rocks in it that completely filled it up, and he says to the class, "Is it full?" And everybody says, "Well, yeah, right. Well, it's totally full." Well, then he takes out some, kind of medium-sized rocks and pours that in. Now is it full? And they're like, "Well, yeah, obviously it's full." And then he takes out sand and he puts the sand in, and that fills in all those spaces that haven't yet been taken. And then he says, "Well, now is it full?" So I think the lesson for me is, if you can fit the big rocks in, if you can decide what your big rocks are on a day, then everything else the minutia is going to take care of itself. So it's really identifying for me those big rocks.
And what I mean by that is when you're on a task or a certain task, like I have a lot of realtors, right? And they can't get to their cold calls per week because they're showing houses or like something comes up. It's just the realtor life. And I said, instead of trying to fit in 10 cold calls a day, what if you had a day where you didn't do anything and you were in the same mindset the entire day and you did 70 calls in one day and you were done on Monday? Then you just opened up the whole week to do whatever you want because you're doing the same thing instead of doing 5 cold calls, trying to go show a house, then come back to the cold. You can't get it done because you're trying to change your mind what you're doing too many times.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I think you said something there as well that was like, we talk about time blocking and we talk about productive stuff and we talk about what is the next thing, but it's also your personality and who you are is so important to all of this, right? Like that spoke to me hugely when you said that, and I never thought about that, right? It's just because you're trying to figure out the most productive way to do it, and you're listening to podcasts and reading books, which we all do, right? And trying to figure out the most productive way to do it, right? But we've got to figure out who we are and what works for us, right? And what mental state are we in? What mental capacity do we have? What what kind of issues are going on, right? And it's trying to figure that out, right? Because some things don't work for all of us, right? We're all different, and we're all in different spaces of our lives. We're all in different headspaces. Different things affect us differently, right? And trying to figure that out is almost more important. Like you said, that headspace, that, you know, that mind blocking, right? Rather than trying to just be like, okay, everyone else does this, this, and this, so this is what I need to do, right? And that's what's going to work. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, right? And don't get me wrong, you can steal stuff from other people, but you've got to figure out who you are and how that works for you.
Yeah, it's the letting go of control. You know, it's the, instead of being, you know, it's Michael Gerber, right? Like, are you working in your business? Or are you working on your business? At some point, if you're going to go past, you know, this idea of being your own bottleneck, then you're going to have to let go of control and outsource. And, you know, another thing that in terms of this big rocks thing, you know, I did a program that Tony Robbins puts on called rapid planning, something RPM something. But basically the crux for me was thinking outcomes. That rather than in my to-do list, what are my, you know, 3 things I need to do? What are the 3 outcomes I need to deliver? And that's a very different focus in terms of how you're going to, you know, go about completing those items, because you're delivering an outcome rather than, you know, putting call Barri off of a list, you know? So that might help somebody think something through for their big run. If you're a high performer, it's so easy to just be like, oh yeah, everybody does that. Oh yeah, no big deal. Like that's just something everybody does. And if you don't take a quick minute to celebrate your small wins, then your big wins won't feel as good. You know, your momentum isn't going to continue as strongly because you haven't spent any time celebrating these steps along the way. So, you know, one thing that one of my mentors told me, you know, I spent a lot of time on Sunday nights planning my week. And one thing that he brought to my attention was go back to last week and just kind of pat yourself on the back for a quick second about all this stuff and forward movement that you made happen. And the looking back, just, I mean, that really propelled me into the week so much more every time that I do that. So looking back to celebrate just a little bit, the small wins that shouldn't matter to a high performer changed a lot of stuff for me.
I don't know. I normally, when I close a deal, I turn on 24K Magic by Bruno Mars. That's my go-to right now. But it's interesting. I guess I didn't, until Barri said it, I hadn't even thought about that it was a year ago. Like I forgot that we were in March, and this is when shit started going sideways for me last year. Like I lost my job. I got divorced like a couple weeks after. We sold a house like 3 days ago, last time this year. So it's like wild to me, like everything that's happened within that year. And people always ask me, like, through all that shit, how did you like stay grounded? Like, how did you, like, because you were traveling, you were doing all these things. And for me, it's always been like my little small wins daily in the morning. Like that's what I cling to. That's what I hang on to, is that working out, whether you have weight gear, you know, whether you have a gym, whether you don't have any of that stuff. Like I try to tell people all the time, like everybody is asking for what's the program, what's the workout program that they can do and all that shit. Like you're the program. Like you are the program.
Yeah, go ahead, Mandy. Go.
More secure your foundation. It all starts with an inside job. All you need is within you right now.